hope so. Hey, Barack Obama is in Germany at this hour and gearing up for his big speech today in Berlin on the heels of his visit to one of Jerusalem's holiest sites. So will it be one for the history books? Joining us right now, we got Chris Wilson, the former executive director for the Texas Republican Party, and Chris Gates, former Democratic State Party for the Colorado as well. Good morning to the two Chris's.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right. Chris Wilson, let's start with you. Later today, we're expecting some huge crowds for Mr. Obama in Berlin. Is that helpful for him to look like he could be elected president of Europe?
President of Germany. I think that this has been a successful trip. There's no question about that. He's done a good job, but it's kind of tough to not have a successful trip when you've got the media absolutely effusive about everywhere you go. And McCain has one reporter following him around this week, and Barack has everybody else, it seems like. But I think when we get down to it, you look at the impact that this is having in America, and I think it is a bit of a risky strategy. There have been presidents that have gone to the Brandenburg Gate to give speeches, Reagan, Kennedy, and they've been very successful. But Obama as a candidate is plowing some uncharted ground here, and I think it has the ability to backfire, and it sort of plays into this whole image of arrogance that I think Obama has a challenge with. You look at the numbers, 40% say he's already made up his mind about anything he sees already. That's not exactly playing into this idea of growing as someone who understands foreign policy.
I want to get Chris Gates in here before we go to break and continue with you guys. So, Chris, obviously this whole arrogance attack has been out there for a long time. It just doesn't seem to stick to Barack Obama.
No, it sure doesn't. And I think there's a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll out that shows that he's opened up a 6-point lead this morning, 47-41. The trip absolutely was risky. It's a tough thing to take on, but I think overwhelmingly the reviews have been very positive, both in the United States and abroad. I think it's a risk that paid off. I think it's gone very well for him.
All right, Chris and Chris, stand by. More from these two live from D.C. in just a moment. Plus, here's something. If your kids have a cell phone.
With Senator Obama overseas, there were rumors that Senator McCain would announce his number 2 in an attempt to steal some of that spotlight or actually name the number 2. Here's Senator John McCain on Hannity and Combs last night.
We have said exactly the same thing all along, as you know, Sean, that we'll make the decision when we make it.
So not yet. That's what I'm getting. But some say it could be this weekend, definitely before the Olympics. With us still, privileged to have with us Chris Wilson, former executive director for the Texas Republican Party, and Chris Gates, former Democratic State Party chair for Colorado. Senator McCain wants some of the spotlight. How does he earn it back?
Well, I think it's a real struggle for him. I think the summer risks going away for John McCain at this point. We're moving up and getting toward a convention in Denver where Barack Obama is going to be in front of a whole stadium full of people in beautiful Denver, Colorado, and that's going to be sort of this epic historical moment. And I think that the McCain campaign recognizes that as the lead consistently stays in this 6 to 7 point range, that they've got to do something to change the dynamic. And I think that's the story this week, that they've recognized that, and that maybe it's an early announcement of a vice presidential choice to try and get back on the news cycle.
Well, actually, the Gallup Presidential Daily Tracking Poll, Chris Wilson, as we look at you there and you're a pollster, Gallup has Mr. Obama just up by 4. There has not been a huge bounce during his World Victory Tour. Is it because Mr. McCain's been pretty successful at counter-programming? He leaked this thing. Maybe there could be the Veep this week. Also, the New York Times rejected that op-ed, and he was going to do a photo op out on an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico today, but that darn dolly screwed everything up.
Yeah, there's been some challenges, no question about it. I don't know if this would be the best week. And in terms of the Gallup tracking poll, that's been very consistent. I mean, really, the numbers haven't changed in about the last 6 weeks when you look at everything rolled into one, all the polling data rolled into one. I think McCain does need to do something to attract attention. It has been a very successful week for Obama. Probably the success of that has not been able to bleed into the weekly track or the daily tracking from Gallup yet. But in terms of what he needs to do, I mean, there's really, when we look at these national polls, we have to remember that these are won by electoral votes on a state-by-state basis. And there's really 3 different ways to pick a VP. It's someone you ran against the primary, who Romney would be, someone to help win a state, like a Pawlenty from Minnesota or a Portman from Ohio. But then there's a third type, and that's the excitement pick. And I really think that's where McCain's got to go. He's got to pick someone to add excitement to the ticket, somebody who would bring the rest of the media from Europe to get on a plane and come back and actually cover his campaign. And that's really what he's got to look for.
You need somebody like Angelina Jolie?
I mean, that's what
she's
talking
perfect.
about.
That's exactly where I was going.
She's perfect.
Condi Rice, somebody like that. I agree.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
I hear what you're saying, Chris, because a lot of people have agreed with your position on that it has to be somebody that's not the expected person in order to try and get some of the media attention from Barack Obama. Chris Wilson, Chris Gates, great to talk to both of you this morning. Thanks for getting up early.
Thank you very much.